I'm Maggie. Welcome back to the fourth episode of the RIP Reading is Phenomenal podcast. Like I promised last episode, we're going to pick up right where we left off in comparing Rudy Giuliani, U.S. Attorney, to the Mafia and the Mafia leaders. So, in Comey's time working under Giuliani, they were fighting the Mafia. The office was fighting the Mafia, and they're actually incredibly successful at economically starving the Mafia. But in this fight, Comey saw a whole lot of similarities, one of those involving loyalty, and that both Giuliani and the Mafia leaders expected complete loyalty, and that the people who were working under them would never question the boss, would do what's best for the boss. And so those are just two things where, leaders start to see themselves as better as the rest of their workers. And in that superiority, they often, forget about the needs of who they're working above. And this kind of causes a lot of rules to be broken and also a lot of hatred to develop. But also at the same time, it does cause this fierce competition where everybody wants to impress the leaders and wants to be the best and wants to work up in the system. And so it was almost like the La Cosa Nostra, the oath of loyalty, was implemented in both of these systems, while at the same time they were fighting one another. And so the similarities were kind of very strong there. And so one of the people who were actually also working on the Mafia case was Comey's friend, Patrick Fitzgerald. And he saw an interesting case where trust could be built between... He saw trust can be built between anyone as long as there's respect. And so somebody who actually, not Patrick Fitzgerald, somebody who saw that was a guy named Kenny McCabe, who knew everything there was to know about the Mafia. He covered their lives at all times, and he actually built respectable relationships with these Mafia members, and he understood their honor, and he never embarrassed them. And he built so much trust to the point where if somebody did decide to betray the Mafia, to go against the Mafia leaders, they could call McCabe first. And so just seeing the difference between that kind of style, Rudy Giuliani would never stoop down that low to a Mafia member, because he would think that he's above them, or he would think, I'm not exactly sure what I'm trying to say. It's just a different, you have to, in order to go and respect somebody and to actually delve into their lives and understand how they're feeling, you have to be willing to actually make some sacrifice of your own ego, because not everything can be about you, and you have to listen to other people's sides. So just seeing the difference in how Kenny McCabe handled that, not that Rudy Giuliani was handling that, but it was just a different way, because, he was obviously handling the Mafia, but he wasn't. But the way that Kenny McCabe went after it was much less egocentric, and it wasn't all about Kenny McCabe. It wasn't about benefiting him. It was about learning about the Mafia members and understanding how they work this in the way that they did. And so, yeah. And also, in working, so this is a little bit different, just a little part about how Comey did work with the Mafia. Comey also dealt with difference in morality, because the people who worked in the Mafia, the La Cosa Nostra, they saw everything, every single kill that they made, they saw as justified. And in that same way, every single person that Rudy Giuliani kind of fought against for his, so that he could get that kickback of being famous or getting a good review, it was all worth it, because he's not killing people, obviously, but it's almost like justice is served because he's getting what he wants. So the Mafia kill people to get what they want. Rudy Giuliani will do anything to get what he wants. And so just one of the things that the La Cosa Nostra would do, they weren't allowed to reveal themselves as members of the La Cosa Nostra. And actually, one time, some of the Mafia members did have to reveal themselves, and then they had to strangle the people that they told. And it was their duty. And when Patrick Fitzgerald, one of Comey's friend that I brought up earlier, asked, why did you kill those people? Was that really necessary? They were actually confused as to why he would even ask that, because it was their obligation, and it was their morality. They had to do it, and it was a part of their code. So that was just something that's implemented. The idea of this code that you cannot break no matter what, especially is detrimental because, well, something that's a code that's at least like, obviously you want to follow laws as long as they're just, but codes like that, being able to kill people so that they don't know that you're in the mafia, is obviously a code that's a little bit immoral. So blindly following leadership is something that's very seen in Rudy Giuliani's case, because people will blindly follow Rudy just so they can step up the ladder. But also later, when we're comparing to Trump, people will blindly follow Trump because they want to step up on the ladder of success, and they will do whatever he says. And so yeah. So that's just how the La Cosa Nostra a lot was compared to Rudy Giuliani, in the way that it was the loyalty that was expected out of their members, the blind loyalty, and also just a little bit of a foreshadowing again of how the blind loyalty in Trump's administration also causes chaos and confusion and a lot of bad stuff. So yeah, eventually, just really quick to wrap it up, the mafia was also a lot taken down and destroyed. Well, at least the La Cosa Nostra's prominence was taken down, and it's kind of also how you see that loyalty, that blind following, really it does get destroyed by justice. So yeah, that is the end of the 4th episode of R.I.P. That was a little over the place, but I tried to, bring it back together, and I'll see you next time for episode 5.